Hi, Cara. Right, we're going to look at which one now? Question 7 of the probability non-calculator, and it's the one about survey was conducted about football. 40% asked were women, 50% asked like football, and 8% were either women, like football, or both. We've looked at a couple of these questions. This is a bit of a classic question about. It's one of these we do. Venn diagram, but we're sort of used to seeing these with numbers, percentages. So it's a bit strange here. We've got these two categories. We've got women. We've got interested in football, and then here in the overlap are women that are interested in football. But if we look at some of the percentages we've got 40% liked. Where are we? 40% were women, and 50% like football. But if we add those together, we get 90%. But the next bit then tells us that actually only 80% were either women or interested in football or both. So these numbers here, this women interested in football or both, should only add up to 80%. There should be only 80%, and 20% would be neither. So we've got like 10% too many. Now, the reason we've got 10% too many is that this 40% is all the people in this circle, all the women in this circle, and this 50% is all the people in the football circle. So the ones in the middle have been counted twice. There must be some in the middle that have been counted in the women's circle and in the interested in football circle. And because they've been counted twice in this 40% and in this 50%, we get the extra 10%, which means that the 10% must be in this middle bit here. That must be the bit that's been counted twice. We could actually answer this question from that point there. We can see from the difference between the sum of these and this one that the 10% must be in the middle. And that's enough to answer this question, but I'll finish this off just because sometimes they ask slightly different variations on this. So if 40% are women and 10% are interested in football, 10% of those 40, 30% must be women not interested in football. And similarly over here, if 50% are interested in football, 40% must be not women. So there must be 40% that aren't women that are interested in football, 10% that are both, and 30% that are women not interested in football. And if I do 30 plus 40 plus 10, it gives me the 80%, which gives me this 80% down here. And incidentally leaves me 20% that are neither women or interested in football. So this particular question is saying what's the probability that you select someone from the group who's a woman and is interested in football. So both those things are true. Well, if you pick someone at random from the group, you can see that the 10%, 10 out of 100, would be a woman and interested in football, which cancels down to 1 over 10. And that's the probability. You do get variations on this, so sometimes it might say, what's the probability of finding someone who's neither a woman or interested in football, or a man not interested in football, and then you'd have to look at this, this 20% here, or what's the probability of finding a man interested in football? Well, that'd be 40% out of 100, and so on. So it's quite handy to be able to do the rest of the numbers, even though this question doesn't need it. Right, is that enough? If not, let me know.